Hey, what up everybody? This is Stephen Breach coming to you here today, and we have bad news in the world of professional wrestling. John Cena is injured! Ah! Holy shit. Honestly, this is a rumor that happens just about every year. I'm not saying that John Cena isn't injured. I'm just saying that as of right now, the injury report that I have read is coming from unreliable sources. John Cena has been injured in the year, getting close to WrestleMania season. We are very close to WrestleMania season as of right now. If you go back to, I believe, 2010, leading us up into WrestleMania, it might have been 2011. John Cena was injured in a match with Wade Barrett at a house show. I can remember John Cena wrestling over in the UK. I believe he tore his Achilles tendon. You can remember him being able to come back from the some sort of injury when he was wrestling Batista, and they tried to blame it on Mr. Kennedy, and things like that a couple of years ago, where he came back and he won the Royal Rumble. But there are a lot of things going on with WWE right now. A lot of them very good. This honestly would probably be very bad. Honestly, the report that I read said that John Cena is going to be out for 6 to 9 months, although I could not find out what the injury really was. I know that John Cena wasn't on Raw, and it wasn't that he was advertised to be there. He did show up on SmackDown, which was being shown live in Canada. I apologize, being shown on tape in Canada tonight, and then will air here in the United States. I did hear on the Observer report where they talked about the spoilers from SmackDown, basically saying that he came out and he asked for a match with Del Rio. Del Rio turned him down, and then Del Rio wrestled Kalisto. Kind of weird, but it did at least open up the door of a Royal Rumble match, I thought. But now it seems news that John Cena is injured, and that's the reason why he was used on the television show asking for a match but not receiving it. It's not that he's asking for a Royal Rumble match. I know that the reports are saying that he's going to be out 6 to 9 months. All I know is that John Cena is like the bionic man, and that if anybody can come back and make sure he's able to make an appearance at WrestleMania, it's John Cena. We've seen him overcome the odds year after year after year. That's what I think is going to, I think he's going to do it. John Cena just tweeted rather upside down way to start 2016, so I guess he's seeing the reports about himself and he's answering it. I haven't seen WWE come out with an official statement yet, so maybe I'll be updating this video later on tonight. But wow, no Cena versus Taker. Maybe we can get Sting versus Taker now. I don't even think Sting's gonna wrestle, so maybe a rematch of Taker versus Bray Wyatt. God, that'll make me throw up. But I don't know, man. This could throw a lot of wrenches into WWE's plan for the upcoming WrestleMania, which we thought was having a already set card, and anything can happen, and anything just did. Hey, what is up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. I told you that I would come back and give you a follow-up video on the John Cena injury, and I have done it. Wrestling Observer Radio is going to be doing a show later tonight, so I guess they're not going to be going with the breaking news audio that they would normally do if it wasn't a show night. If you're not a Wrestling Observer subscriber, I honestly think as a wrestling fan, it's probably the best money that you're going to spend. You might like going to the dirt sheets, and the dirt sheets are free. And even though a lot of the stuff on the dirt sheets is copy and paste, they never seem to copy and paste the whole story. And being able to listen to the podcast, being able to read the actual Wrestling Observer, and get all of the news that Dave pumps into there, as well as the Figure 4 Weekly. It's worth it to me as a wrestling fan. I don't want to say that I'm a smarter wrestling fan than you are, but it will make you a smarter wrestling fan, and it gives you a lot of the backstory on a lot of the stories that you might be reading just a headline of and just moving on about your day. But I guess this story was broken open by the PW Insiders, Mike Johnson, who put this up as a post on their website, which then was answered by John Cena posting up on his own Twitter, and then of course the coach going with the news on SportsCenter on ESPN, which is still... That was, real breaking news about professional wrestling being talked about on SportsCenter. I understand that they have the time slot on Tuesdays that they always talk about professional wrestling, and, it is what it is. But, when they do basically breaking news and it's about WWE, that's a big deal. And I know that they've, got some negative press because they don't talk about, all of the news of wrestling. ESPN hasn't gone with the big story of all the guys from New Japan Pro Wrestling, basically, coming to WWE. They haven't broken that news story open, but I'm sure that when they do, that's going to be one hell of a press release for guys like Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. AJ Styles has probably never gotten any press like this, and Shinsuke Nakamura, even though he's a big star in Japan, this is a big deal here in the United States. And I know that there's talk of AJ debuting at the Royal Rumble, and we don't really know when these other guys are going to come. Shinsuke Nakamura more than likely will do some time at the Performance Center, where he will learn sort of the American ways of professional wrestling. We don't want no strong style over here, but it's a really fun time in professional wrestling. No John Cena. He said that this is a shoulder surgery problem, which is basically something that's going to put him out 6 to 9 months. This being John Cena means that he'll probably be out for 5 months, and then he'll be able to return. People are really freaking out about WrestleMania, even though we really don't know anything that's going to be going down at WrestleMania other than the rumored match of Triple H going up against Roman Reigns. Everything else seems to be up in the air. Some people think The Rock is wrestling. Some people think The Rock is showing up just to be a part of the shenanigans, which is WrestleMania, which basically will leave guys like Sheamus, Dean Ambrose, The New Day, Kevin Owens. Those guys are going to be the highlight of the show, basically with Randy Orton and Seth Rollins, as well as Cesaro, basically all being, sent home due to injury. And, I don't know. I mean, you're looking for star power. You're losing your number one guy in John Cena. It's awful funny. And I thought of this earlier, basically that everyone says, John Cena sucks, and John Cena is the worst thing about wrestling, and this is what I hate about it, is I hate John Cena. But, we've had John Cena injuries before, we've had John Cena injury scares, and basically everyone sort of admits that when Cena's down, the WWE's in a tight position, and they're in a real tight position right now with the guy that they built the main event around, Seth Rollins being out, Randy Orton, a guy that can always pick up the bags, and I was meant to say pick up the ball and run with it, but not having Cena. Of course, they just brought Alberto Del Rio in at Hell in a Cell. They really haven't put him in the limelight that I thought they would, after they spent the money to get Del Rio to come over from AAA and come be a part of WWE once again. If it is true that he's being paid over $1 million a year, they should treat this guy like he's being paid $1 million a year, not as a United States champion, which isn't really defending his belt, that is a part of a geek squad of the League of Nations with Rusev, Sheamus, Alberto Del Rio, and Wade Barrett. Del Rio should be the head of his own stable. And I'm not talking like they have the geeks on Monday Night Raw, Bo Dallas, Adam Rose, Heath Slater, and there was another one. I can't remember who the last one was, but I don't know. We'll have to see what's going down. Obviously, there's going to be more news to come on this whole deal, and as soon as Observer Radio is up with Brian and Dave, there'll definitely be more word of mouth from Dave Meltzer about what is going to happen with John Cena. Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here, talking all about John Cena and basically what John Cena's shoulder injury means to the upcoming WrestleMania 32. I was in big time shock yesterday when the report came out that John Cena was going to have the shoulder surgery. Basically, some people are saying it's a rotator cuff injury. I didn't really see it coming. John Cena really is the glue that holds the WWE together. He is one of the biggest stars that they do have inside of this company. And WrestleMania 32 is supposed to be built up as one of the biggest and best WrestleManias of all time. There was high expectations put on WrestleMania when it was said that it was going to be held inside of AT&T Stadium. AT&T Stadium is probably the one place I thought WrestleMania was going to be each and every year since about 2010. I kept saying that Jerry's World was the biggest. It was the best. It was, as close as you can get to the Pontiac Silverdome for WrestleMania 3. If you want to make a statement that WWE is pop culture and that WWE really is bigger than most people who are not wrestling fans think it is, selling out AT&T Stadium is a huge exclamation point on doing that. I mean, that's sort of what it was when I believe the CMA Awards, the Country Music Association, when they held their awards show there, and they had over 100,000 people there to see country music and hand out awards. That was a big statement for country music, saying how much people love this, to be paying the high demanded price for tickets and all showing up in order to see the stars of today. John Cena had basically two matches that were being talked about in the YWC as possible matches that were going to happen. Either Cena versus Undertaker or Cena versus Roman Reigns. Cena versus Taker is a match that, just like, saying that I thought that AT&T Stadium would get WrestleMania since 2010, Undertaker versus John Cena is a match that has really been on my mind for years, wondering why this match has never happened. Of course, if you go back in time, you can see this match going down in 2002 on SmackDown, as well as on one of the pay-per-views from that time period as well. It sort of was John Cena becoming the guy that he is today, but he was a heel at the time. It didn't make a lot of sense. I don't think I've watched the match in a long time, and I don't really have the greatest remembrance of it. The SmackDown and Raw in that time period was something that I just was sort of, I've talked about it 1,000 times. It was a time period that I stepped away from wrestling, and then I ended up coming back. And being a bigger wrestling fan now than I was then. But Cena versus Taker is a match that, if you want to talk about Undertaker, having the best matches on each and every show and pushing himself to have the best match on every show, as well as having an opponent that, makes sense to somebody going up against the streak, somebody like John Cena, who the crowd has never really been 100% with, even though that he has been the biggest babyface on the roster. Adding an accomplishment like the streak to his credentials, it just made a ton of sense. And for the people that have the dream scenario of John Cena turning heel, the Undertaker match would have been, I believe, one of the things that people were looking for. On Monday Night Raw, I believe it was last Monday, we saw the stare down for people who watched the fan cam after Monday Night Raw ended. It was uploaded onto YouTube from people's cell phones that were inside of the arena. Roman Reigns and John Cena was started out as a love fest, turned into a little bit of a stare down, and basically trying to wonder who was the best. I can see why you would want to do Roman Reigns versus John Cena, but sort of it makes me think about the Undertaker versus Cena match. These are two guys that were mainly baby faces for a good quality amount of time. And if you didn't want to do Cena versus Taker, why would you want to do Cena versus Reigns? I know that Brian Alvarez talked about on Wrestling Observer Radio that when you bring up the fact that you want people to cheer Roman Reigns, putting him up against John Cena, a guy that always gets booed WrestleMania weekend, no matter who his competitor is, it would make a lot of sense that Roman Reigns would sort of get the rub and go that way. But then again, it might have turned into a WrestleMania 20 disaster of Goldberg going up against Brock Lesnar, with the fans all knowing that both of these guys are quitting the company that day and basically didn't want to be there. They were just basically there to cash a check, and the fans turned that match into a circus, and there was nothing that even Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was in the ring as a special guest referee, could do to save it. But basically, all the officials inside of WWE are scrambling right now to try and piece together what is going to be WrestleMania 32. It's being said that the officials are all acting as if Cena won't compete at the event at all, and I don't know what the Band-Aid is that's going to fix this, whether this is AJ Styles or Shinsuke Nakamura, and you just put these guys on the show to try and save it and try and see if these guys can have a big match, and that's what people remember. But as of right now, I mean, I'm so negative on WrestleMania 32, even though I'm so looking forward to this trip, and I have a lot of money invested into it. It's just another knock on it. WrestleMania 32 is billed as one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time. We were supposed to get Austin, we were supposed to get Michaels, we were supposed to get Daniel Bryan. All three of those names basically not being able to be there. Sting, a guy that has had big matches at WrestleMania against Triple H as well as against Seth Rollins at Night of Champions. He's a guy that's injured and he's not going to be able to be a part of the show. Then you take the guys of today, Randy Orton and Seth Rollins. And even Cesaro from the mid-card. All of these guys are injured, and they're not going to be able to be a part of WrestleMania. What are they going to do to save this? Because I'm really not looking forward to seeing a guy like, King Barrett and the League of Nations having some sort of an 8-man tag and trying to think that this is going to be one of the best shows of all time.